Open to the questions, smooth the sky. Shoes off, lean in, take a breath, take a seat. Where the truth walks free and the romance meet. No filters, no front, just the heart of the talk. Welcome to the place where the brave ones walk. Religion and redemption, business in the hustle. Life hits hard, we unpack the struggle. Mental health, mind, trauma and dreams. Peeling back layers till the silence brings. Politics in the air, sports in the veins. Educated minds, talking love and pain. No cap, no script, just truth with spark. This is Shoes Off Talk, where we leave that mark. Shoes off, lean in, take a breath.
Welcome, everyone. Welcome to another episode of, actually, a very interesting episode of Shoes Off Talk today. I know I'm gonna get flack from people.
Man,
about the show today because
very controversial.
Very. But it's okay because that's what we do.
Yeah.
That's what we do here at Shoes Off Talk. Had some technical difficulties, so we couldn't go live today on TikTok, but I had them go over to my Instagram where they can still be a part of the show because we are definitely going to ask people for input regarding today's topic. And today's topic is polygamy, culture, history, personal choice. And I know, without a shadow of a doubt, I'm going to get text messages about my choice of conversation. But the reason why I wanted to talk about it today is it's been kind of like a hot topic on social media. There was a lady that was on Instagram, and she was they were talking to her. I think what it was on Supper Club. She was on Supper Club, and they were asking her about polygamy. Okay. And does it work, and her thoughts on it. And she said she laughed and kind of said it jokingly, and they didn't think she was serious about it. And so she told them, she's like, yeah. She was like, I wish I was confident and knew myself earlier in life, she said, because it would have been, she would have gotten into it in her relationship.
Oh, wow.
And so that was different.
That's very different.
That was different because, one, it was a black woman. And, you know, no knock on black women, but black women aren't really known for sharing.
Exactly. It's like, no, this is mine.
Yeah, they're not really known for sharing. And so and like I said, you know, I'm prefacing this by saying that is not a knock against black women at all.
You were like, why do you keep saying it like that?
They just don't play well together. You know, and so that's the reason why I said it. But let's dive into it. Okay. Let's dive into it because it is an interesting topic. And I think the reason why people are talking about it, discussing it, is because they are looking at today's relationships. And they are saying that with the overwhelming number of breakups and marriages that don't succeed, I think they're looking at different things that could help. And when you look at that as a possibility, you know, how could it hurt?
How can it hurt?
In essence, how could it hurt? What are your views, Floyd, on polygamy?
Well,
Well,
Well, if that's the thing though, it's like I'm up in the air with that one. I'm on that the whole
proverbial fence. You're on
yeah.
the fence.
It's like depends on the situation. I gotta have a really good situation for that
So
to happen.
and that's the thing is, what does a good situation look like? Oh, here it is. I have it.
Okay. And that's the thing. It's like a good situation is it has to be amongst everybody is in agreement. You know, that's a very good situation. And at the same time, I got to be financially well off in order for that to happen too.
Okay. So we're gonna play this clip, and this is a clip that I was talking about that talks about it's I don't know if I'm saying her name right. Ayanla Iyan, or is that Lyanla, speaks about polygamy. I don't know who that is, but let's listen to this and see what she says. Oh, hold on. Let me start it over. Okay, here we go.
Yeah.
Younger, so he don't have to be bothering me all the time. He's 42, I'm 70. Go and take your butt on over there. You know what?
You jokingly serious? What do you think
No, I'm very serious.
Really?
When I was younger, I couldn't because I didn't know who I was. And I didn't understand the value and the purpose of a relationship. So when I was younger, I didn't do cheating. But I could be one of other wives. If we're going to do that, it has to be an open conversation and agreement. But you sneaking around the corner, no, I don't do cheating. Because you know why? It's dishonest.
I agree.
And if you're going to lie to me, then I can't trust you. But if we sit down and this is what we want to do, I ended up marrying a man who was a polygamist. My second husband came out of a polygamous relationship. I like it because you be over there sometime, I'll be over here, I don't have to cook, I save my toilet paper, you don't have to my toothpaste, go on, have you. And I don't think we can tell people who they can and cannot love. If I love you and you're saying this is what you need to support, satisfy yourself, why would I say no to that? Because I know who I am as a woman. And I don't know if it's possible for one person to satisfy every need another person has.
You think about people.
So that's a great breakdown, and that's a great lead in because and just to give people that may not be familiar with what polygamy is. Polygamy is the practice or custom of having more than one wife or husband at the same time. And I think that's the understanding that we have to have, is that this is not just a man having two wives. It could be a woman having multiple husbands as well.
Right.
The zoology of it is a pattern of mating in which an animal has more than one mate. The botany part of it, the condition of bearing some flowers with stamens only, some with pistils only, and some with both on the same or different plants. So poly is not just a human thing; it's a nature and it's an animal thing. Nature and animals also practice polygamy. So we have to change our mind into away from the human part of it, and it's really just when it comes to plants, they use multiple things for growth.
So it's more of a instinct. It's more of a ancestral thing. Like more of we're connected to these plants. We're connected to these animals. So pretty much all of that ties into why we do these things in the first place.
Well, you have to understand that's why so many different races are intertwined. Is because back in the day when polygamy was the thing to do, you had a man that had multiple wives,
The cocoa butter.
but the wives were of different cultures. It wasn't the same cultures.
Right.
And so that's why we have such a mixture in culture to where you have white people with black people in their family. You have Asian people with black people in their family. It's just a mix. And it, like I said, it was the thing to do back in the day. And so it was the norm. And so that's why we are where we're at. And there's such an ingrained mixture in cultures because of it. And so that's why, when it talked about the zoology part of it, animals don't just mate with their type of species. They mate with other types of species, which is considered to be poly. And just like plants don't get nourishment from one specific area. It's multiple different areas. And so, I mean, we can even look at it in dog breeding. A lot of the dogs that we love to look at, a lot of dogs that they're a mixture of multiple breeds that have of late come out to be the norm. And we forget that a lot of the dogs and pets that we have are from a mixture of a bunch of different breeds. That's why there's so many different lines of bullies. When you think about the French bully, the pit bull, the boxer, all of these different types of bullies are mixtures from other different dogs. So I told Floyd when I picked this topic, like I said, it's been a hot button on social media, and I know it's not for everybody, but I wanted to talk about it because it has been a hot button. And we have those conversations. We have those conversations that nobody wants to have, and conversations that may be difficult to talk about. But we also have to remember that along with other things that we're experiencing in our lives is part of programming that we've had since day one. Our parents had the programming, their parents had the programming. And when I mean the programming is there was a set agenda that had us thinking a certain way. And for the most part, we all was part of the same programming, because the programming is kind of like a device for control. If I can have everybody thinking the same way, then I can step in, and I don't have to have one running loose over here, and having to get this bunch of people in order. When if we program the same way, I can just say one thing and control everybody. So go ahead.
You're pretty much describing a coach.
Yeah, it really is. And what I'm challenging us to do is to allow ourselves to be reprogrammed. And where you really see the programming coming into effect is when you travel out of the country and you experience how other people live. An example that I like to use is when you travel to European countries, they rarely, if any time, even in public areas, wear clothes. You go to the public beaches, and they have a ton of nude beaches. Yeah. They don't look at nudity the way that we look at nudity. No. For us, we associate nudity with pornography. And that has been part of the programming. But when you go to other countries, they don't have, people are half naked, don't wear clothes, and they don't have half the cases of rape and all the stuff that we have. And
the norm.
It's the norm. Yeah. And they really look at the naked body as a work of art more so than it being taboo. And so that's why, we do shows on Shoes Off Talk to where we want to challenge that programming and to give people a different perspective, because as soon as you say something about poly, nope, I'm not sharing. But you'll stay in a relationship where you refuse to give that person you're in a relationship the things that they need. But you're against poly. You don't want to give it to them, but you don't want them to go anywhere else to get it. But you want them to stay loyal and be faithful to you. And a lot of times, bro, it's nothing over the top. Sometimes it's the basic things in a relationship they're supposed to get, but because you don't feel like doing it, and you ain't never had to do it before, and it's not who you are to do it, you know, and we're not just talking sexually. We're just talking like the mental, the spiritual, you know, all of that. You know, I don't think that away. You know, I'm not spiritually enlightened. Well, okay, well, I want to be with someone that's spiritually enlightened, that thinks that's able to think outside the box.
But they should the person should automatically know what type of person they're getting in bed with anyway.
Well, the problem is with relationships is that relationships start off a certain way, and then once you with that person for a while, you get comfortable, and almost too comfortable to where you feel like that I no longer have to do the things that was attractive to them or that they enjoyed about me. I can just, you know, walk around the house with a bag on my head and not ever dress up or not take care of my body. When they met me, you know, I was in shape, and now I have a man or I have a woman. I got them now, kind of thing. Like I don't have to do the things that got them because I got them. And that's when you have people venturing outside of the relationship, especially after it's been communicated the things that they need and that they want. And if you have a partner that's making that effort for you, you owe it to them to give them that same amount of effort. And so, yeah, it's definitely a conversation. When you talk about being poly, I've never been in a poly relationship, so I know my viewers are going. I told Floyd that they're going to go after me after this show because people probably, I didn't know you viewed that. I didn't know you lived like that. No, it's not the way I lived. But I always say the only true death is when you stop learning. And I always want to be learning. And I'm not so set in my ways of thinking that I'm not open to view things differently and see if it possibly works for me. I can honestly tell you, like, looking at the basic structure of poly, I don't think I can do it, not from an insecure, jealous standpoint of view, is like maybe when I was younger, but that's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work, yeah.
That's a lot of work. And I'm not talking about the communication part of it because I've always been a great communicator. But I think that's the main thing that you have to be is you have to be an excellent communicator. That comes with a lot of communication. And that's probably the number one downfall of relationships is that the inability to communicate effectively. We talked about that.
Right.
A lot of people know how to talk, but can you communicate effectively? And so I think when we talk about that is probably got to be the main thing that you bring to the table when you're even looking at a poly relationship. We want to go ahead, Paul.
See, I want to take it back to when we talk about this. I mean, it comes to me like the olden days, like in Africa or the Middle East or what else? The indigenous cultures. You know how they are involved with poly as well.
Mm-hmm.
So, which in turn is like the only people that I really knew were involved in it were the Mormons and Somalians. You know, but then when it comes out that these different cultures were involved with that too, so it's like it became a what is that? A big what would I say? A big thing when it came to poly because now you have the opportunity to be with not just one but 3 or 5 of them at one time. I'm like it draws on that man because that man has to be wealthy. In order to
Well,
do it.
It's
Like,
I
yeah.
think that's probably the new age poly, but you also like I said, poly isn't something new. I just pulled up something and I'm gonna read a little historical context um, regarding poly. The earliest written laws, like those of Hammurabi around 1780 BCE, allowed for men to take a second wife if the first was barren or diseased. That's how poly kind of started. It wasn't just the urge of wanting another wife. There were women that couldn't bear children, that were battling diseases and different things, so they weren't capable of
Yeah.
childbirth and weren't able to do the wifely duties, so to speak.
Surrogated mothers.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
so religious and social reasons for polygamy was sometimes practiced for reasons like ensuring the continuation of a lineage, especially if the first wife couldn't produce children, like we said, maintaining social stability, or indicating a man's status and wealth. Um, Even in the Old Testament, it talks about polygamy, and some of the key figures that practice polygamy is Abraham, Jacob, and David. Um, the religion pretty much that kind of started this um, uh, is Islam and Mormons.
So, but okay, go back to the Bible. How they they were a part of all the poly, right? But then at the same time, God bless, especially David.
Mm-hmm.
So you have this one, this one. But David was after David had God's heart.
Um, I think the whole polygamy thing is, like I said, it's gotten such a bad stigma because we we think of everything sexually.
It's man invented.
Yeah, it's man invented, but we gotta understand the history and why it was invented. It wasn't just invented just so a man could just sleep with multiple women. Um, that was part of it, but that wasn't the basis on how polygamy started. Um, uh, yeah, when you look at Islam and Mormons, it speaks of it in the Quran, and in Islamic faith, and I'm not going to sit here and talk about it like I'm just well versed in it. It's under certain conditions. It's not just okay. I want to have two or three wives. Boom, 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 boom. There's conditions that are written in the Quran regarding how to go about doing that and what it should look like. Um, um, Polygamy in the U.S. is illegal, with laws prohibiting polygamy having more than one spouse at the same time and plural marriage. Um,
So what if you married in the U.S. You go international, you get married there.
there's some people that are moving internationally just so they can be in a polygamy polygamy marriage, a poly marriage. It's funny because the place where I go get my tattoos done, and she's probably watching this. In Thailand, uh, when I first met her, I was like, oh, you married? She was like, yeah, my husband lives. I think it was Korea. He was in the military there, and I said, well, how often do you see him? And she was like, I live here and he lives there. I was like, well, how does that work relationship wise? And she said he has a girlfriend, and I was like, do explain.
Yeah, please.
Like, yeah, he has a girlfriend there. She takes care of him. When I go there, we're kind of like a blended family, and it works for them, and it's been working for them for a while. Um, and the way she was talking to me was like that's not normal for you. The way she was, I'm looking, and I'm so open minded to things. I don't judge people.
Right.
And so I was just curious, and so I asked her. I said, so, will you ever be joining? She was like, yeah, I'm actually going to move there. At the time, I think she was looking at 3 or 4 months from now. And I was like, so he will keep the girlfriend? She's like, yeah, she's a part of our life now. And I'm like, okay, that relationship has a lot of communication.
Yeah, it has to have a lot of people.
Yeah, and when I got a chance to talk to him, because I talked to him via video, and it was about tattoos, so I didn't get the chance to talk. But just talking to him, his energy and his frequency, like he's a good guy, like he is, a cool dude. And so I can kind of hear it in his conversation that it's what works for them.
Of course, he's a cool dude. We got 2 women.
Oh, there you go. See, Floyd, we trying to get people to look at this differently, and I'm just interested with the people that is watching. Who would be okay being in a poly relationship?
Are you feeling that it's okay to be in one or not? Because I mean, like I say, it can go either way.
You know what? I just think it works for people. It's just a shame that it has to be such a taboo conversation when you talk about it. And I think that could be some of the reason why people don't feel comfortable with doing it here in the U.S. is that they worry about people and how they're going to be judged.
Right. How they're being portrayed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like everything else. What works for you may not work for everybody, but that doesn't mean that what works for you is wrong.
But then at the same time, you have to look at these people who actually do things, and they're actually in your community.
Yeah.
So it's like they're just like everybody else, but it's just that they believe in a certain way of life.
Yeah. I myself, if I was in a poly relationship, I definitely could not do it with younger women.
But see, and that's the thing though. Okay, you have that going on. Okay. You have it like the earlier days, not even the earlier days. Now, I would say modern times, you have them still at the same time they're 16, 17 years old, and they're getting involved in that.
What you mean back then?
Then and now.
Well, I think it was more acceptable back then, and because they were being raised by their parents to prepare for a poly relationship, so that was almost like part of their heritage. Now that won't work at a young age. That won't work. Like, even though we have kids getting married at 17, 18 years old, that's not a conversation that a parent or anybody else wants to have with a 17 or 18-year-old that's looking to get married, where they are talking to their daughters about, hey, have you ever thought about, adding a wife or adding another husband, to your relationship? That's not a conversation because it's not part of the programming. It's not. It used to be a taboo conversation just talking to your kids about sex. What do I talk to them about? Do I just avoid the conversation and hope that they don't have sex? Or do I talk to them about the safety aspect of sex and condoms and and letting them know that abstinence is okay as well? They probably, at a young age, you probably won't have that conversation unless you are living out of the country. But for me, it's a thing. it's a thing. Like I said, I couldn't do that with a younger woman. Because you definitely there has to be an overwhelming level of confidence and security between all parties. But I think it starts with the individual.
Well, see, what I found out is that with these men who actually do that, um, they get the younger ones. Back then, they had got the younger ones because they were more vital, more helpful with the kids. They'll be there longer with the kids.
Well, the probably one of the biggest things as well is like if they're gonna have kids, then you don't have to worry about having kids with the older woman where there could be health risks. Um, and then having it with a younger woman, it gives them that time as a young lady to spend with the kids and basically kind of grow up with the kids. Um, and the virility of being able to possibly produce a long lineage of kids is more apt with a younger woman.
But see, and that's the thing, and that's like with any culture you see, their their idea of society is to populate. They're trying to produce all these kids to enhance their population, and that's why they have them. Like
Yeah.
like I was telling you earlier, the guy who married 5 women, he's got 24 kids, actual 24 kids, and I was like, wow.
You ain't got nothing better to do with your time than to have kids. Oh, what I wanted to, because you were saying that, about the whole financial situation. From what I have seen of poly relationships is like everybody contributes.
Yeah.
In some way. It may be the husband works and if the person has multiple wives, maybe one of the wives work and the other one stay at home and tend to the home or they all may work. I guess that's just a conversation that as the man of the house what the expectation would be. Um it's not so much the money thing, it's just being able to just spread myself so thin. Like
That's a lot of work. I mean, you're going from one spot to another spot. I mean, you're in the same house, same area, but it's like you're going from one location to the other location.
it's a
Constantly
lot of
doing
work.
that back and forth.
That is a lot of work. That's a lot of work. And that would be the reason why I couldn't do it. I couldn't
It's
do it.
but see, you gotta look at it. It's hard enough just to tend to the one.
Yeah,
So like,
especially when it comes to American women. Um, and don't I know I'm gonna get flack for saying that. I'm not speaking bad about American women. It's just that y'all aren't built like foreign women in other countries.
well, the women that were
Not
raised,
physically built, but just
like,
mentally.
raised to take care of their men.
Yeah,
To take, that's their main goal is to be there for the men. See, the women of today, I'm not saying that they don't take care of their men, but it's like they're more so taking care of themselves.
yeah.
Taking care
Well,
of,
because they're we live in a society now where women all they ever talk about is not needing a man and how much of a boss they are and how they got their own money and they don't need this from a man and all of this other stuff and it's really kind of a turn off. It's cool for a person to know that you don't need me, you choose me, but to have that air and that attitude like I got more than what you have and this and that and it's it's not attractive. It's actually a turn off, um, because we don't need anybody. Like, but there's choices that you make to be with someone, and everybody wants to be wanted. Um, but when you're constantly saying, "I don't need a man," "I don't need a man," "I don't need a man," then it's just a put off. It's just a put off. Um, but yeah, I'm all for women's lib and you making your money and doing your thing
yeah, most
and
definitely.
being a boss and running things. I love it. I love it. Um,
But they say the HWC.
yeah, I don't know where I think I've heard that, but okay. And what does that mean, Floyd?
Head woman in charge.
Yeah. But yeah, man, y'all reach out to us, give us some feedback on what you think about, because we're gonna have another conversation about this. Because I want to do it with people around the table, because I want to get, in your face, reviews and conversations about the pros and cons. I want to have somebody that either has been in the poly relationship or considering being in a poly relationship or currently in a poly relationship. I want to get that perspective. And then I want to get a perspective from somebody that might have been in it and it didn't work. I kind of have an idea of why it wouldn't work.
But you just never know. It might be something totally different.
Might be something totally different because, like I said, the basis of it being able to work is communication. And we have not known, men and women alike, have not known to be the best communicators. And that's the downfall of any relationship, platonic or otherwise. But yeah, the interesting topic today. I wish we could have went on TikTok and talked about it because I felt like this conversation would have went across really well. I got to figure out how to take that filter off of TikTok. So if any of you, you know what, I'm gonna reach out to Alyssa today and have her walk me through how to take it off. I might have to meet up with her because she has an iPhone and I don't, and so I might have to meet up with her and have her show me. But very interesting topic.
Yeah.
I definitely want to have a more in-depth conversation about it. And let me know if you want to come on the show and talk about it.
Yeah.
You can pull up and we talk about it. And it may be something you want to check into. If your relationship is boring and your significant other is basically refusing to satisfy you in any aspect, not just sexually.
Right.
That may be something you want to have a conversation about. And don't be scared to talk about it. Like, don't be scared to talk about these conversations that have been for so long taboo conversations. Because that's all it is. It's a conversation and you exploring other possibilities. But it's a tough conversation. It's a tough conversation to have because the way we are wired, if you bring something up, then that must mean what you want.
No. I was raised on you're supposed to do just that one. No.
Yeah. That's really the way it would go. But yeah, I really want to have this conversation with some people that have either good experiences or bad experiences. I've heard a lot of good. I could understand how it could be bad. But yeah, let's talk about it. Very interesting show today.
Yeah.
Y'all, I'm not out here because I know somebody's going to message me and think that, hey, so is that the reason why you are single because you looking to, be in a poly? No, I'm not looking to be in a poly relationship. I don't want to be in a poly relationship. I'm not saying that I couldn't eventually get to the point to where a poly relationship could possibly work for me, but not thinking about a poly relationship. Hell, I don't want a relationship. But yeah, we appreciate you guys tuning in today to the show. I know it's a little different, but there's no boundaries. There's no limitations in what we'll talk about on the show. We wanna have those uncomfortable conversations because I feel like if we can spark those conversations, our viewers will feel more confident with having these conversations, either with significant others or people that have had the experiences. And that's what it's about. I always used to say I never want to say I don't like anything until I experience it. Because we as Americans, we have this strong sense of, we react to things either from someone else's experiences or just from looking at it and not really experiencing it. So get out and experience life and all that it has to offer. You never know what may be attractive to you. You could sit from afar and judge something based on what you see, but when you actually get to experience it, could possibly enlighten you. We appreciate you guys tuning in today. Like I said, I always enjoy, and appreciate, any of the time that you give us because we know how precious it is. We are looking to start some different programs with the studio. We are working on some proposals on some different things, but we also want some input on you guys. What is something you see us doing on the podcast or in the studio that would raise more awareness of what we do here? So give us that input. Give us the input on today's show. We'd like to see what you hear and see what you thought about today's show. We will be back Saturday. Topic has not been discussed, or we haven't come up with a topic yet, but stay tuned. We will give you a heads up when we do come up with a topic. But how we end all shows: love, peace, and soul.
Take the shoes off at the door, yeah, we getting real. Talking all the things they say you shouldn't feel. From locker room truth to capitalize. That you deeper to the questions, who's this guy? Shoes off, lean in, take a breath, take a seat. Where the truth walks free and the wrong minds meet. No filters, no front, just the heart of the talk. Welcome to the space where the brave ones walk. Religion and redemption, business and the hustle. Life hits hard, we unpack the struggle. Mental health, money, trauma, and dreams.